What would happen if Islam Makhachev, one of MMA's most dominant champions, loses to Jack Della Maddalena? It's a question that's got the fight world buzzing. Makhachev, known for his Dagestani grappling mastery and his reign atop the lightweight division, is taking a huge risk by moving up to face the surging Australian contender. A loss could shake up the pound-for-pound rankings and change the course of his career. In this video, we'll break down all the possible scenarios for Islam Makhachev if he's defeated. If you love MMA analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. The immediate fallout. How a loss impacts Islam's legacy and ranking. If Islam were to lose to Jack Della Maddalena, shockwaves would be felt throughout the MMA world. First and foremost, such a defeat would mark the end of his impressive winning streak and potentially his aura of invincibility. Makhachev has built his reputation on dominant performances, suffocating grappling and tactical brilliance, qualities that have kept him at the top of the lightweight division and earned him a place among the pound-for-pound elite. A loss, especially in a higher weight class, wouldn't necessarily erase his accomplishments, but it would force the MMA community to re-evaluate his standing. He would likely lose his spot as the pound-for-pound number one, a position he's worked hard to secure. The UFC rankings would reflect this shift, with Makhachev dropping down in both the lightweight and welterweight lists, depending on how the organisation decides to handle his move between divisions. From a legacy standpoint, the narrative would shift from unbeatable champion to vulnerable contender. Critics might question whether his dominance at lightweight was due to favourable matchups or if the jump to welterweight exposed limitations in his style. However, it's important to remember that many legends, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, even Khabib's cousin Umar Nurmagomedov, have faced adversity and bounced back stronger. Ultimately, the immediate fallout would be a test of Makhachev's mental resilience and his ability to handle adversity. Would he regroup and come back stronger, or would this loss define the next chapter of his career? The MMA world would be watching closely. Career pathways, possible next fights and divisions. After a loss to Jack Della Maddalena, Islam's career would reach a critical crossroads. The first major question: does he stay at welterweight or return to lightweight? While Makhachev has dominated at 155 pounds, the weight cut has become increasingly taxing as he's matured physically. Many insiders, including his coach Javier Mendez, have hinted that his days at lightweight could be numbered. If the welterweight move was motivated by health and longevity, a return to lightweight might not be ideal. If he chooses to remain at welterweight, the UFC's deep roster offers plenty of intriguing matchups. Fighters like Colby Covington, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Machado Gary, and Sean Brady could all serve as compelling opponents. Each brings a different style challenge. Covington's relentless pace, Rakhmonov's well-roundedness, Gary's striking, and Brady's grappling. Makhachev would need to prove he can adapt his Dagestani wrestling to bigger, stronger opponents, a narrative the UFC could easily build. Alternatively, if he does attempt a return to lightweight, he'd likely need to re-establish himself as the division's top contender. This could mean facing rising stars like Arman Tsarukyan, or even pursuing a rematch with Charles Oliveira or Dustin Poirier. However, with the lightweight title potentially vacated or in flux, the path back to gold could be complicated. There's also the possibility of a super fight or a high-profile comeback bout. The UFC loves redemption stories, and Makhachev's first loss would set the stage for an epic return, perhaps against another big name, or even a trilogy fight if the Maddalena bout is competitive. No matter which path he chooses, every fight would carry massive stakes for his legacy and future in the sport. Reputation and fan perception. Media, fans, and the UFC narrative. A loss to Jack Della Maddalena would instantly shift how Islam Makhachev is viewed by fans, media, and the UFC itself. For years, Makhachev's reputation has been built on dominance, discipline, and the mystique of the Dagestani grappling tradition. His association with Khabib Nurmagomedov and his methodical rise to the top have made him a symbol of technical excellence and relentless work ethic. However, MMA is a sport where narratives change overnight. Some fans and pundits would inevitably question whether Makhachev was ever as dominant as his record suggested, especially if the loss is decisive. Social media would buzz with hot takes. Was he exposed at welterweight? Did he move up too soon? Was the size difference too much to overcome? These questions could dominate headlines and podcasts for weeks. Yet, there's another side to the story. Many fans appreciate fighters who take risks and challenge themselves against the best, regardless of the outcome. Makhachev's willingness to move up and face a dangerous opponent like Maddalena could actually enhance his reputation among hardcore MMA enthusiasts. They might see him as a true competitor, someone unafraid to test his limits. The UFC, for its part, is adept at crafting redemption arcs. If Makhachev handles defeat with humility and determination, the promotion could easily position him as a comeback story, someone who learns, adapts and returns stronger. His interviews, social media presence and post-fight demeanor would all play a role in shaping this narrative. Ultimately, while a loss would dent his aura of invincibility, it wouldn't erase years of dominance. Makhachev's legacy would depend on how he responds, both inside and outside the cage. Long-term implications, legacy, retirement and coaching. A loss to Jack Della Maddalena could mark a turning point in Islam Makhachev's career, prompting both fans and analysts to speculate about his long-term future in the sport. At 33, Makhachev is entering the stage where many fighters begin to contemplate their exit strategies, especially after a major setback. While he has shown remarkable resilience and adaptability throughout his career, the psychological impact of a high-profile loss can't be underestimated. One possible outcome is that Makhachev might consider retirement sooner than expected, particularly if the loss is decisive, or if he struggles to find his footing in a new weight class. He has always spoken about not wanting to overstay his welcome in the sport, echoing the approach of his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Should he choose to step away, Makhachev would leave behind a legacy as one of the most dominant lightweights of his era, with a championship reign and a reputation for technical brilliance. Alternatively, Makhachev could transition into a coaching or mentorship role, much like Khabib has done. His deep understanding of grappling, fight IQ, and experience at the highest level would make him a valuable asset to the next generation of Dagestani fighters. He's already shown a willingness to corner teammates and share his knowledge, suggesting a smooth transition if he decides to hang up the gloves. Regardless of his decision, Makhachev's impact on MMA is secure. Whether he continues fighting, retires, or becomes a coach, his influence on the sport and the legacy of Dagestani MMA will endure. So, where would Islam Makhachev go if he loses to Jack Della Maddalena? Whether he chooses to stay at welterweight, return to lightweight, or even transition into coaching, one thing is clear: a single loss won't erase his incredible achievements or his impact on MMA. The real story will be how he responds. Will he rebuild, reinvent, or retire? Only time will tell, but fans around the world will be watching every step. What do you think Makhachev should do next? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more MMA insights.